باسم الآب والابن والمنفس القدوس عدو مراكمين عدو أب قدوس عدو ورد قدوس عدو يتو منفس قدوس آمين يا مسيح سلام سلام يا نسم Gebre Selassie no. Hello everyone, my name is Gebre Selassie. I am an Ethiopian Orthodox two-headed church. Uh, what the heck did I just say? Oh my gosh, bro. I'm a part of the Ethiopian Orthodox two-headed church. Already sounding like a Protestant already, eh? Anyway, I'm an Ethiopian Orthodox two-headed Christian. All right. Hello, everyone. You may have known me as Sean. I go by Gebre Selassie, which means servant of the Trinity. All right. If you want to see the breakdown of my name, you can go to the Allow Me to Introduce Myself video. But yeah, man. Hello, everyone. If you are new to this channel, I welcome you. If you are not new to this channel, I welcome you back. And may you continue to enjoy all of the great content and edifying content and wonderful content that will be posted on this channel. May you like, share, subscribe, and, tell your friends and all that good stuff. But yeah, I hope you're enjoying your stay here as I journey down the rabbit hole of becoming more and more of a heretic. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Anyway, yes, how are you all doing? I hope your Holy Week was very great. I know mine was. I caught a lot of great pictures during the Holy Week, all the way up from Hosanna down to Arbiciclet, which is basically the what's that? Good Friday. So we celebrate the crucifixion of our Lord, all the way down to Tinsai, right, which is basically Holy Resurrection, right? So yeah, I caught a lot of good pictures of everything that was going on. Yeah, I was basically the photographer for my church for a little bit. But yeah, and let me just say this about Arbiciclet, all right? Arbiciclet is like, oh my gosh, bro. You want to talk about working out? Now I understand why Orthodox Christians are so fit, man. Cause we just do prostrations, man. Like it's and the way Ethiopians do prostrations, bro. My gosh, man, it is a workout. All right, you don't gotta go to the gym, bro. Just have a great prayer life, and naturally, you will just get physically fit, man. All right, just naturally, bro. Just do prostrations. Like during your prayers, man, just do prostrations. And just watch as you lose weight, you gain muscle all at the same time, man. Oh, man. Anyway, all right, we're not here to talk about Holy Week, all right, and stuff like that. What we're here to talk about is this is going to be a relatively short video, but what we're here to talk about is a conversation that most Orthodox churches, whether you're Oriental or Eastern, Chalcedonian, non-Chalcedonian, you're a part of this conversation, all right? And that conversation is whether or not your church, or whether or not, let me not put it like that, whether or not Orthodoxy is just ethnocentric. Now, I've heard this accusation a lot, and it's usually from Westerners and converts that like, oh, the church is ethnocentric, it doesn't really come off as welcoming to outsiders, and things like the language barrier, they serve as like, a stumbling block, and da 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 da, da, and oh, everything's not in English, and how are you guys supposed to be the one true church, and you guys don't even have English services and resources and books and blah 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 blah. All right, you've heard the whole complaint and whining and crying about this and stuff, right? And me, I am of the stance, I don't think that is the case. I don't think these churches are ethnocentric at all. All right, I look at it like this: these churches were around long before Christianity even reached America, long before Christianity came to the United States. All right, so let's just put that out there. Secondly, right, what people be asking for as far as like, oh, like there was a conversation that I was having with a gentleman earlier today, and he was saying like how there are folks who are in these churches, right? Both are, whatever church they may be at, right? Whether it be Ethiopian, Coptic, whatever, right? You have folks who grow up in these churches and stuff like that, and they don't even understand what's being said. They don't understand the liturgy and things like that. And that just kind of goes to show to him, right? That just goes to show like, oh, like they need to do more work and like, putting more stuff in English. But my issue with that, though, right? My issue with that assessment is you can apply this across the board to all other churches, right? Just because you have folks who are raised in these churches and they leave because they don't understand something or they don't understand what's going on. That's I and this is just me personally. I think that's more on the person's part, as well as the church in some areas. But I think that's more on the person's part of not asking questions. You know what I'm saying? Because you have Catholics who are poorly catechized, who are confirmed, everything under the sun. You hear Catholics talk about it all the time, right? They go to the church, you know what I'm saying? They're raised in the church, with their parents and stuff like that. And they don't understand a word. They don't, or not even a word, but they don't understand the lick of what's going on. And then it's all of a sudden when they're approached by a Protestant, who only just reads the Bible, and they start reading the Bible for themselves, and then they get indoctrinated. And now they feel like they know everything under the sun, right? But they walk away not understanding what it was that they were a part of. And so I don't even think that's a fair, nor do I think that's a assessment that is just exclusively for Oriental Orthodox and Eastern Orthodox churches. You can apply this across the board. You even have this in Protestantism too, where you got folks who they're a part of the church. They may even grow up in the choir and stuff like that, especially in the black church. All right, you got folks who are a part of the choir. You got folks who have aunties and uncles who are deacons and deaconesses and stuff like that. But once you start to ask them certain questions, they don't know nothing. So it's like, all right, just because somebody isn't knowledgeable or doesn't necessarily know how to explain what it is that they're in, that's not necessarily something that says like, oh, this church is ethnocentric. Because you also got to think about it like this, right? As far as the Ethiopians go, nobody speaks Ge'ez, right? Except those who are trained in the liturgical manner, right? Of course, Amharic is derived from Ge'ez, but it's not the common language anymore. You know what I'm saying? Just like, for example, right? I speak Latin, but I don't go down the street and start speaking Latin to somebody else, even though I know it, and although I know it's not even a dead language, because guess what? We use Latin in everything, and people, they don't even know it. But nobody speaks it like it's the lingua franca of, the United States. You know what I'm saying? And so, like stuff like this, that doesn't even make it ethnocentric either. And so when people bring this up and stuff, I'm like, dog, I don't think the solution is, hey, let's put everything in English. I think the solution is, okay, let's make sure there's an even exchange here. I've always advocated for this, a balance, right? Let's advocate for an even exchange here where there is just enough English or just enough stuff in English, but on our part as Westerners and as converts, right? Because I'm not Habasha, all right, although I'm always mistaken as Habasha by Habasha. I'm always mistaken as an Ethiopian, right? And I think it's probably either because I wear the tela, or maybe because I know a couple of words. I don't know. Anyway, right? Anyway, I'm always mistaken as Habasha by my Habasha community. They're like, "Oh, you're not Habasha?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not Habasha." They're like, "Oh, you're Habasha to me." You're Habasha to me. We accept you, brother. And I'm like, "Oh, thank you." Anyway, I don't think the solution here is, oh, let's make stuff more English. I think it's, okay, make some things English, of course, right, for understanding. But on our part as Westerners, let us do our due diligence to try and learn the customs and the language of these churches. Why is that? Because the language, right? Like, it's like these churches are not like the West, where like language is just something trivial, right? No, like in these churches, right? Like language, music, food, like everything about like how they live out their faith, it's all tied in together. You know what I'm saying? Even like when it comes to any of these Oriental churches, whether you be Armenian, whether you be Coptic, whether you be Ethiopian, I'm gonna definitely assume Syrian and Malankara Indian, right? But especially Eritrean, right? All of this stuff ties into how they live and understand the faith. And I think to just like anglicize it is just gonna like do it harm, honestly. Right? Which is why I think on our part, this is where we need to do our due diligence to start to learn the customs of these communities and of these churches, and not just expect them to like grovel at our feet and learn our language and just like spoon feed us everything that they're doing. No. You know what I'm saying? I think like on our part, it's like, okay, I came into your church, now teach me your ways. You know what I'm saying? Teach me your ways. Like, for example, right? If, let's take the example of like the name of God, right? If I told you, right? Let's say you asked me, hey, Gebre Salase. And I say, yeah, what's up? Right. And you say, like, yeah, how do you say God how do you say God? Or like, what is the way that the Ethiopians, like, how do they refer to God in your church? And I say, oh, Exia. You're gonna look at me like, oh, okay, right? Just bland, plain on his face, right? But what if I told you that, okay, there's a reason why they called him Ixiabier, and Ixiabier is not just God, like how Westerners hear the word God, right? What if I told you, no, it's specifically a Trinitarian name? It's a Trinitarian phrase. Ixiabier, right? Ixia, right, means God, Master, Universe. I mean, God, Master, Lord. Bier means people, animals, creation, universe. Put that together, what do you have? The Master or Lord or God that created the universe, animals, people, everything in creation, right? Very Trinitarian, very much a callback to Genesis. But also, if I were to break down the name of Ixia even more, to even tell you, like, okay, in the Ge'ez language, right, Ixia or Igzi means the son. Ab or Abi, right, means the father. Her means the spirit. It's a very Trinitarian name, right? English could never do this, right? English could give you an idea, right? But it would never encapsulate what the Ethiopians are actually saying in its fullness. So this is why I'm like, yo, like this is why I think on our end, we need to do our part in trying to learn their ways, right? It's not on these churches to like have to, you know, put a cushion under our bums and like, you know, be like, hey man, how you doing? Oh, you need this? Okay. Okay, you need this? Okay, you need this. Like, definitely assist us where we need it for sure. But it's not like, you know, we're supposed to like sit in a throne and like, you know, have palm trees like, you know, being waved on us in terms of trying to like how to, you know, adjust to the church and stuff like that, you know? And I don't think these churches are ethnocentric, bro. Not at all. Because when I came to my church, and I know of plenty others, right? When they have converts that come to their church, they're glad when converts come to the church. They want converts to come to the church. They're glad because it shows that they're doing something right. You know what I'm saying? Like, people, they were shocked. Like, if I tell you, like, on my baptism day, folks were shocked to have me in their church. And when I say shocked, I mean in a good way. They were like almost every person that I saw, almost every face, like especially when my diakon announced, like, okay, we have a new member of our church here. Hello, everyone. This is Gebre Salase, right? And everybody's jaw dropped, like, oh my gosh, we got another target. We got a cover. Like, bro, like they got hype, dude, because they want more people to come into their church. You know what I'm saying? And in a weird way, I can honestly say that my conversion, along with other people's convert stories who are not Habesha, who are not Ethiopian, who are not Eritrean, right, who aren't Coptic, who aren't Armenian, right, when they come into these churches, those who were born into these churches, in a way, it sparks that curiosity for them to know why is it that you came to our church, right? So they want to start learning more about their church. And then and if I'm being honest, the retention rate honestly just starts to grow. They start to stay. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, bro, like to say that these churches are ethnocentric is way much of it. It is so much of a false accusation, bro. So much of a false accusation. I really think that this is I really think that this is an accusation, and if I'm being honest, from lazy people. All right, and I say this with love, with all love. All right, I think this is really an accusation from lazy people who just want everything anglicized and want everything to be, accustomed to their liking, rather than it being like, no, you join this community, now learn the ways of the community. If we're Americans and we pride ourselves on diversity, then let's press into that and let's actually do our due diligence to learn these people's customs. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, this whole thing of like, oh, your churches are, ethnocentric. And get out of here with that. Makes no sense, bro. Makes no sense. Anyway, I said this video was going to be short. It's not. It's like 16 minutes. I'm done ranting. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. And yeah, as I said, comment. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me your experiences. I'd love to hear them. But on that note, باسم الآب والابن والمنفس القدوس آدم ركمن Adu Kadus, Adu Avde Kadus, Adu Yetu Mefes Kadus. Amen. Christ be with you. Yamasihu Saram. And I will see you all in the next video. God bless and take care.